Distinguished experts, welcome to ESMO 2025, Focus on China, from HER2-positive breast cancer to global R&D landscape. On behalf of the co-organizers, I'd like to extend my warm welcome to all of you. Today, we're honored to have with us Professor Giuseppe Curigliano, European Institute of Oncology, Milan, Professor Willem Gradisha, Betsy Bramson Professor of Breast Oncology, Northwestern University, Professor Mario Campon, CEO of Institute de Cancerologie de l'Ouest, ICO, Dr. Zhou Feng, President and Chief Operating Officer of Henry Pharma. Our experts come from diverse fields and regions. Today, we gather here to discuss the challenges and opportunities for Chinese innovation going global. Now let's turn to Professor Giuseppe Curigliano from the European Institute of Oncology in Milan, a global leader in breast cancer research. Professor Curigliano, how would you evaluate the PFS and OS results achieved in the Horizon Breast 01 study for patients with HER2-positive advanced breast cancer? Based on these results, could you describe your approach to treating these patients in clinical practice?
So thank you for your question. I saw the data this morning of the Horizon Breast 01. This was a prospective randomized trial in which the new ADC AZHR A1811 was compared to pyrotinib and capecitabine. I was impressed by the clinical data. There was a median progression-free survival benefit from 8.3 months in the control arm to 30.6 months in the experimental arm, with a median progression-free survival of 12 months that was 88% for the control arm to 96.3% in the experimental arm. Overall response rate was impressive. For pyrotinib and capecitabine was 55.9%, 81.7% for the ADC. This is a new generation ADC. I believe it's really breakthrough in terms of activity, in terms of impact in median progression-free survival, median overall survival, and overall response rate. What is really important, I believe, is the drug design optimization with a drug-antibody ratio of 1 to 6 and an excellent safety profile. Independently of the content and the cross-comparison, we know perfectly that trastuzumab deruxtecan in the second line may give similar activity, but overall there is the ILD and the risk of toxicity. The incidence of ILD in the second line setting for this trial was really very low, and the safety profile was excellent. So we have a new star on the horizon that is exactly SHR A1811 that can beat, of course, the treatment landscape in HER2-positive disease in the second-line setting with an impressive and unprecedented 30 months median progression-free survival. Now the next step is to do a trial comparing it eventually to trastuzumab deruxtecan, but I really believe that beyond this ADC, there is an excellent future. There are many second-line treatment considerations. First of all, patient treatment history, so including prior first-line therapy, duration of benefit, pattern of resistance, of course, sites of metastatic disease, the tumor burden and pace of progression, the performance status of the patient and the comorbidities, and the prior related toxicities. And then, of course, we have to consider efficacy in subgroups, HR positives versus HR negative, bone-only disease versus visceral disease. Of course, if you have a rapid progression after first-line trastuzumab, pertuzumab, or trastuzumab plus chemotherapy, you need to select agents with a high overall response rate, and 80% of overall response rate with SHR A1811. It's really impressive, as it is impressive, of course, the presence or not of brain mets. And if you check, of course, the data in the subgroup analysis on the activity of this new ADC in patients with brain mets, I believe this should be taken into account in the selection of the treatment. Finally, if you had a prior ILD, I would go on a treatment with a lower risk of ILD. And patients with a poor performance status or hematological comorbidities, so you need to balance the risk of hematology risk together with the risk of ILD. And I really believe that SHR A1811 is an excellent new agent in this setting. To be honest, I believe the safety profile of the drug is almost good. Discontinuation rate was around 4.9%. With trastuzumab deruxtecan is around 20%. Dose reduction rate was 22.5%. And the incidence of serious adverse event grade 3 or more was around 70%. But coming back to ILD, rate of ILD with this new ADC is around 2.6%. So regarding hematological toxicity, we know perfectly how to manage them because this is not a major issue, finally, for an ADC to manage this type of toxicity. So I would suggest to perform a regular complete blood count every week in order to check if you have any neutropenia. For nausea and vomiting, of course, you need the best optimal care. And for ILD, my only suggestion is to perform a CT scan every 6 to 8 weeks. Don't forget, in any case, that the risk of ILD with other ADC is around 20% or 12 to 20%. Here we have only a very low rate of ILD. I really believe that trastuzumab deruxtecan should be incorporated in the clinical practice guidelines as a new treatment option for second-line treatment of HER2-positive metastatic breast cancer. So the current treatment landscape should change because actually we have a new ADC with an impressive activity in terms of response rate, in terms of median progression-free survival up to 30 months, and also even if data on overall survival are immature, there is a clear projection for an overall survival benefit. So trastuzumab deruxtecan is a new ADC that, in my opinion, can change the treatment landscape of HER2-positive disease. And so what we need to do is to identify those patients that are candidate and to start treating these patients in the second-line setting. Of course, many other studies are ongoing on the use of liquid biopsy, spatial transcriptomics, other molecular tools to better identify those patients that will derive benefit from this agent. And at the end of the story, I believe the next step should also to test trastuzumab deruxtecan in the HER2-low population. So congratulations to the authors, the investigators, and thanks to the patient that have been included in this wonderful study.
Thank you, Professor Purigliano, for sharing your clinical experience and valuable insights. Next, we're honored to hear from Professor William Gradisha, Director of the Maggie Daly Center for Women's Cancer Care. Professor Gradisha, from the perspective of international experts, what are the key potentials and opportunities for Chinese innovative medicines in addressing the unmet clinical needs of breast cancer patients worldwide?
One of the observations that most people around the world have made in oncology is that when China conducts clinical trials, they do so in such a rapid fashion that they accrue so much faster than any other part of the world. And that's one of the major strengths that I think China brings to the table, just in terms of being able to execute clinical trials. And then, in the last 5 years or so, it's been striking how many new drugs have been developed within the classes that, I'm interested in the breast cancer area, whether it's immunotherapy, whether it's anti-hormonal therapy, whether it's targeted therapy, or even antibody-drug conjugates. The innovation that the companies have demonstrated in China is pretty remarkable. So if you put those two things together, new drugs and an ability to do clinical trials rapidly, it's really a formula in my mind for success.
Thank you, Professor William Gradisha, for your answer and encouragement. Regarding this question, we would also like to ask Professor Mario Campon, CEO of the Institute de Cancrologie de l'Ouest, ICO. What's your view on this?
It's very important to access to innovation, because innovation is the future. And China has the capacity to conduct a clinical trial very rapidly and to access to innovation very rapidly than the other countries in the world, in Europe too, because it's more complicated now to include the patients in a clinical trial because you have some administrative reason, and will be one of the more difficulty and to access to the drug. Some pharmaceutical company in China have the capacity to produce drug very rapidly and very innovative. When you see this result of N2 F2, the TKI, etc., it's a good chance for the Chinese people to have the access to the drug and to cure some patients in this area.
Thank you to both of our international experts for your insightful sharing and encouraging perspectives. Your comments have provided important guidance for how Chinese innovation can better align with global research and patient needs. Now, we would like to hear from the industry side. At this year's ESMO, many studies and data from China have been presented. As several renowned domestic and international experts have mentioned, there is a hope to benefit more patients. Today, we have also invited Dr. Zhou Feng, the president of a major Chinese pharmaceutical company. Her vision is to bring health to patients worldwide. We would like to ask Dr. Zhou Feng, from the perspective of Chinese enterprises, could you please share your practical experience and discuss your view on the opportunities and the challenges that Chinese companies face in their global expansion?
Science has no border, also neither border in innovation. So China has become the second biggest economy in the world. And during the past, several decades, all the scientific and new technological development has been very well accelerated alongside all the growth. So we also see lots of the Chinese innovative medicine companies, startup companies boom up in the past decades. But there are lots of the challenges and the opportunities. I would say the opportunities first is all about the unmet needs. I think one of the problem is the aging problem, and also the healthcare equality challenge, especially during the pandemic. So there is a lot of unmet needs booming still there. Also, I see lots of the collaboration regarding to the regulatory accelerate. For example, UK, they have a recognition A to accelerate the approval within 60 days. If you have a trusted, regulatory approval in the other countries. So, but of course, the challenge for the China innovative companies like Hengrui, it remains one is about overall, I would say the innovative medicine R&D, the successful rate is still very low. According to the data, it's about 10% of the those kind of medicine who start the clinical study and get a final approval. So it's only 10%. Meanwhile, we also see lots of the first in class. It's a truly innovative medicine opportunity. So even we have 24,000 projects ongoing every year, but the 2023, 2024, the new innovative medicine first in class approval in the US is about 50. In China, it's about only 22. Japan is about 16. So how to make this kind of R&D? It's more a focus on innovation instead of me too or in the class. So I think, in China, in the past, decades, I think the government, they put lots of the efforts. First of all, is to make sure that, the people, patients in China still get a national reimbursement. I think, probably China is the biggest population in the world who has this kind of a national reimbursement policy coverage, which is very important. And then focus on the innovation. The government, they put a patent protection kind of policy, strengthened in the past, several years. And also the acceleration of the regulatory approval can allow this innovation could be delivered from the lab to the hand of the patients. And most recently this year, the China pharmacopoeia also has been like updated, with show the China government is more like open and willingness to work with the global. So these all the changes allow the company like Hengrui Pharma transforming from originally a generics company now become like innovative medicine. So we have like a very comprehensive, consolidated platform from the early discovery, early research, CMC, manufacturing, late stage development, and also in the past, 20 years, we have 24 new innovative medicine developed from Hengrui Lab, approved in China already. So this year in the ESMO, this is our first time to set up a booth. It's a small because we don't have the approved medicine outside China for the innovative medicine category yet. But I think it's a good, signal for Hengrui Pharma to show that, we want to be part of the global science, community like ESMO. And we have 46 studies, presented in this ESMO conference. Among these 46, 9 is the oral presentation, for the LBA as well. So including our latest, Hengrui like a HER2 ADC in the late stage HER2 positive breast cancer patients data. So which is very important opportunity for Hengrui. But of course, the challenge remains like, how Hengrui become like really from China to global, especially how we can be part of the global science society and build our network, understand, the global unmet needs, especially what is the current standard of care comparing with China. So the trial design could be lots of difference. Another one is the talent, because today at Hengrui we have about 4,600 people working in the R&D area. Among these people, 60% of them, they have the master and beyond degree, but it's still not enough. So if we become like a truly global company, we also need to attract all these kind of talents from all over the world, from the famous university like Northwest or from Yale. This year, we just have like a global postdoctoral degree kind of program as well. So I think, talent will be a key opportunity and a challenge for the companies like Hengrui as well. But I think, important to say, in the past, 2 decades, Hengrui transformed from generic company to innovative global company. That is a long-termism kind of like a goal. So from follower to fast follower to like running like a side by side, and eventually become like we can also leading in some of the areas eventually. So I think it's the building is not like Rome is not established by one night. So it's a long journey for us. We as a Hengrui as a symbol of China's like innovative pharma company, we can do better by like working together with global society and attract the best world class R&D people, and also continue to develop and innovative like a China wisdom to the global team, and eventually help the global patients instead of like just patients from China.
Thank you, Dr. Joe Feng, for your sharing and reflections. Before we move to the next question, let's return to Professor William Gradisha and Professor Mariel Campong. Do you have any good suggestions for Chinese experts and Chinese pharmaceutical companies?
I think that what's been discussed up to this point really represents the aspirational goals of a very well-equipped country to accomplish all the things we discussed. They have patience, they have talent, they have demonstrated an ability to execute clinical trials. And I think one of the key things beyond what's already been stated is that when you develop partnerships with other companies and conduct some of these trials internationally, as well as not just in China, it will lend credibility to the efforts you're making in your home country. So it's not as though you don't have credibility, but I think it just expands the impact you'll have by partnering with other international pharmaceutical firms, as well as with international investigators around the world to conduct these trials. And I think it'll be more representative of the global population as well. And the hope would be that by doing that, we don't slow you down because you've demonstrated that you can do things quickly, but hopefully it'll end up being more impactful.
Thank you, Professor William Gradisha, for your additional insights. We'd like to pose the same question to Professor Mario Campong. Professor Campong, what are your thoughts on this question?
I think that the next step is to have collaboration with the other investigator group, because I think it's very important, for example, for Europe. If you want to have the approval in Europe, to have to conduct some clinical trial in Europe. If it's not the case, I perfectly understand the Chinese market is very important, but the European market will be too. And we'll be very grateful if the European people will have the benefit of your innovation.
Thank you very much for everyone's sharing. After today's discussion, our session is drawing to close. Finally, let me invite Dr. Zhou Feng to deliver a closing remarks.
Thank you all. So this is like a great honor to be able to sit together with you and to discuss this important topic. And as a summary, I would say, first of all, this is like an opportunity for the company like Hengrui, like a Chinese local company, to become like a truly global company and serve, the Chinese wisdom in innovation to a global patients. Just like all the great suggestions you have mentioned, it's not only about the speed, but it's also about the impact for across the globe. So first of all, I would say it's a value. So there is a value for the company like Hengrui to be able to accelerate this global footprint and working together with global society, science society, patient society to accelerate our footprint in the global. And get a final approval in the end, right? And the second of all, I would say this is an ecosystem because it's not only like a Hengrui itself, but also we will be able to work with like lots of the global KE, global companies like GSK or MSD, just like, we have, signed a contract with them to have some assets to be able to develop in the global. So I think it's an ecosystem kind of opportunity. And finally, I would say this is like a sustainable growth because it's not like one day or one night or 1 year. This is like a long-term vision that, company like Hengrui could be able to like a global players in eventually. So I really hope with our determination and with the support from all the globe, from Professor Gradisha, from Professor Camponi, and from our like investor relationship partners, we will be able to find the right approaches, not only for China innovation, but also for globalization, not only from just like license out or do a new call, or the strategic partnership, like on the development, just like our deal with GSK, but also we'll be able to really have a chance to select the right assets to do a global trial, finally to get approval in the well-established market, just like US and Europe. So the journey just a start, and I hope one day we can have a commercial booth eventually in ESMO one day, and ASCO as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, esteemed experts. Welcome to ESMO 2025 Focus on China, the paradigm leap of Chinese innovation and its global future. As a co-organizer, I would like to extend my sincere welcome to all of you. Today, we will discuss the opportunities and challenges faced by Chinese innovation in the context of globalization. For Chinese innovative drugs to go global, solid clinical data alone is not enough. They also require a clear global strategy, mature business models, and collaborative wisdom to build an international ecosystem. For this session, we're honored to have with us Professor Giuseppe Curigliano, European Institute of Oncology, Milan, Professor Jian Zhou, President of Zhongshan Hospital, Fudan University, China, Professor Hunay Adam, Hospital Paul Bouhous, AP-HP Hepatobiliary Center, Dr. Ning Junjiang, Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer of Hengrui Pharma, Dr. Zhou Feng, President and Chief Operating Officer of Hengrui Pharma. We believe this exchange will help outline the strategic blueprint for Chinese innovation going global. To begin with, I'd like to ask Professor Jian Zhou, how can Chinese researchers help China's innovative drugs stand out in global competition?
At the 2025 ESMO Congress, multiple clinical research achievements from China have garnered significant attention from the global oncology community, including the CARES-99 study led by our team, as a clinically initiated clinical trial utilizing a domestically developed innovative drug regimen, pembrolizumab, combined with rivasirudib. It represents the world's first study to demonstrate positive outcomes from a sandwich perioperative treatment model in hepatocellular carcinoma, representing it as a true pioneer in perioperative immunotherapy for HCC. Study data demonstrate that the pembrolizumab combined with the rivasirudib regime provides multifaceted benefits in perioperative immunotherapy for hepatocellular carcinoma. It not only significantly enhances pathological response rates, but also effectively extends event-free survival, EFS, delivering tangible survival improvements for patients. Under the great leadership of academician Jia Fan, our Liver Cancer Institute of Fudan University has always been committed to promoting innovation in China's liver cancer diagnosis and treatment. The institute not only undertakes major national scientific research projects, but has also achieved a series of internationally recognized breakthroughs of early diagnosis of liver cancer, precise surgery, treatment, and translational research, from establishing a liver cancer recurrence prediction model to leading a new model of perioperative immunotherapy. We are transforming Chinese data into global standards. In the global fight against cancer, the Chinese wisdom that China has contributed is not only reflected in original drugs such as pembrolizumab and rivasirudib combination, but more importantly, in the paradigm shift in full course management of diseases that we are exploring, that is, from late stage to early and mid stage, and from treatment to cure. In the future, we look forward to more Chinese research taking the world stage, driving the renewal of treatment paradigms and benefit more global patients from Chinese innovations.
Thank you, Professor Jian Zhou, for your insightful sharing. Next, we would like to invite Professor Hunay Adam, who serves at Hospital Paul Bouhous AP-HP Hepatobiliary Center and is the leading expert in liver surgery and transplantation in Europe.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think I would say China is a very great country, and my feeling is that we may wait, I would say, development coming from China's team in all the aspects of research. It could be fundamental research, it could be also in clinical research, and if we take the example of clinical research, you have a large cohort of patients, probably the most broader, I would say, cohort of patients in the world. And by this way, it's possible for you to make evidence data much more quickly than all the other European and American countries. So I think all the aspects of research should be approached by China's team, because you have, I would say, big cohort, you have big means, and you have big material. And in my view, I think China's teams will, with the experience they have, will probably succeed to obtain very good result and publishing result in the near future. And I'm speaking about the advantage, I would say, of China's team. We should also see what may be the limiting factor. In my view, the limiting factor is the language, and possibly it is also the methods to make a good abstract, to make a good article. And to give you an example, as president of the IHPBA, International Hepatobiliary Association, we received, China is the widest country in sending abstract. But I would say it is also the country with a higher rate of rejection, possibly because we should increase and improve the methods to make a good abstract, to make a good paper in such a way that many articles, many abstract, much more may be accepted from the Chinese, I would say, teams. And possibly also a way to compensate, I would say, such type of difficulty for China's team to publish, to see on the academic field, is probably to collaborate with European teams, with US teams, in such a way that each one may learn from the other. And for example, in my lab, we have worked on immunotherapy with, I would say, the circadian rhythm of administration of immunotherapy. And we have a combined paper, we have a combined experience with the Chinese team. And these allow, I would say, not only for us to have, I would say, the learning important topics from the Chinese team, but also it allows the Chinese team to learn a little bit more about more experienced centers in publishing, in making abstract, and so they have much more the methodology to communicate in the academic way. I think it's difficult. I'm in the field of HPB surgery. What I notice when I go to China, when I see the article published by Chinese team, is that unquestionably, I would say China is emerging as a very, very, very important country in all the research aspect, maybe fundamental, maybe clinical. And I think in the near future, I would say what China is able to demonstrate, for example, in Europe, we will have 100 patients, while in China, we will have 10,000 patients. And this is a strength very, very, very useful for China to try to demonstrate very quickly a new possibility of treatment, a new treatment strategy, and so on. And so I'm convinced that in the near future, we will see China's more and more China's papers, more and more China's abstract in, I would say, the different international congress.
Thank you, Professor Rene Adam, for your valuable insights and for recognizing the growing strength of Chinese data and global research. Next, let's hear from Dr. Ning Junjiang, Executive Vice President and the Chief Strategy Officer of Hengrui Pharma.
China is increasingly playing a critical role in the global innovation in pharmaceutical industry, and we've been an integral part of that ecosystem. There are a few numbers to back that up. First, if you were to look at the global clinical development pipeline, 1/3 are actually coming from China, by single country. And if you were to look at 2024, the multinational companies in licensing deal, again, 1/3 actually was Chinese inventors, significant reflection of the innovation from China, not just quantitatively, but I think it's also qualitatively in the nature of the novelty and the differentiation. Going no further, and this is ESMO. Very similarly, in ASCO, year 2023 was 19 late breaking from China, and then this year in ASCO, over 70. So there's an acceleration of the innovation from the data perspective toward from east toward west. Hengrui, as a leading pharmaceutical company in China, is in the forefront of that industrial innovation. Hengrui, first of all, is a leading biotech company or pharmaceutical company in China by many measures. Largest by the market shares, market cap, and nearly $70 billion, and 24 NMEs in the market, and we have over 9,000 sales FTEs in deeply rooted in China. And Hengrui also offers innovation powerhouse. We are number 2 in the self-generated pipeline, second to Pfizer. And in the last 5-10 years, we've been developing advanced and innovative platforms, ranging from small molecules, multispecific antibodies, ADCs, peptide, gene therapy, degraders, and so on and so forth. These platforms consistently spill out the innovative products and really strengthen the upstream bullet toward the clinical development. We also have an unparalleled clinical development efficiency, and in the sense that we're currently developing over 100 assets in the clinical stage, ranging from phase 1 all the way to registration trial. And we are running in parallel 400 trials in China and beyond. And we are in the year 2024, we have recruited 20,000 patients. That's again a very large scale. I think to your second part of the question really is how Hengrui is looking at a competitive advantage globally. And if you were to look at our mission or vision, that we are committed to develop innovative medicine to address unmet medical needs around the world, patients around the world. And we have a comprehensive way of looking at globalization. First, obviously, through the partnership. And in last few years, we've done 17 out-licensing deals with multinational companies and the like, with a total deal size of $28 billion. We're then moving one step further to work with the largest or the best financial institution, such as Bain Capital, and create a new co, Kailera in this case, and using our pipeline to organize a company and focusing on the weight loss and diabetes area. And we not only get upfront and all the financial similar to the out-licensing, we will also own a certain percentage of the company, and that actually offers a closer interaction between us and the newco, and relative to the global development and perhaps also the global commercialization. And we again, when that's Kailera case was the first in class in China, most recent, and it's also largest ever in the newco deal with a total size of $6 billion. We went further with GSK in most recent cases. We actually had an up to 12 programs collaboration and with a total deal size of $12.5 billion. Now, in that collaboration, that I think that the talent from two teams are going to work even closer, starting from the more upper stream of the innovative assets. And 11 out of 12 actually are non-preclinical assets, and some of those are de novo. So really well stimulating talented the brainstorming between the two talented teams. More importantly, I think we are also moving toward the global development part ourselves. And the ultimate goal is to have Henrui's product, Henrui branding product, serving globally. And we're currently running about 20 global trials and setting up a global presence. And again, through the partnership and eventually through ourselves to have Henrui's innovation serving global. And most recently, we have listed in Hong Kong Exchange. I think by doing that is really another living witness to say that we are putting ourselves in the global stand, and we wanted to set out as one of the global companies, and obviously attracting the talented people to work with us as well. So in summary, that Henrui is a leading pharmaceutical companies, and we're committed to developing innovative medicine to address unmet medical needs toward patients around the world.
Thank you to our three distinguished speakers for your excellent perspectives. Your insights have provided valuable academic guidance on how Chinese innovation can better engage with the global ecosystem. Now, we are honored to invite Dr. Zhou Feng, President and Chief Operating Officer of Henrui Pharma. Her next aspiration is to accelerate the global reach of China's innovative medicines, bridging local breakthroughs with global patient needs. Dr. Zhou Feng, as a pharmaceutical company with more than 50 years of history, Henrui has undergone a profound transformation from a generics manufacturer to an innovation leader. What would you identify as the key barriers Henrui has overcome and the core advantages it has built during this journey?
I joined Henrui Pharma 6 months ago, and Henrui has, like you said, more than 50 years, history. So for Henrui, because our key vision is to make Henrui as like a global company to serve for the patients across the globe through Henrui's innovative medicine. However, 50 years ago, it was like a small company in the north part of China. So in the past, decades, like 5 decades, Henrui has successfully transformed from a small generics company to today. I think our sales, of the innovative medicine developed from Henrui's lab is more than 50%, 55% actually. So there are 3 periods. One is about, before 2000, it was all generics. So it's like from low quality of generics to high quality generics, serving the unmet needs of China, like serving Chinese patients. Between like 2010 and to 2015, it was like innovation kickoff. At that time, we only had like 2 innovative medicine approved in China from our own lab. After 2015, it became like innovation acceleration. And it's mainly because of it's like government also encourage the innovation and protect, the patent, and also accelerate, the regulatory approval process as well. So innovation has been very, very well paid by the China like a medical insurance system. Now we have chance to have negotiation every year with the National Reimbursement Bureau. So this innovation encouraged the company like Henrui to be able to accelerate our innovation. And most importantly, like Mr. Broker, you said, Henrui also have our own way to go global. Through lots of like the BD out licensing, set up the new co. So it's not easy because innovation means lots of the investment and also the risk we have to take. Henrui, we have invested more than 20% of our sales revenue every year to the innovation R&D development. In 2024, we invest about 83 million RMB, so 83 billion RMB, which is almost like 29% of the total sales revenue, which is very high. And we committed like in the next, in future, we committed to invest more than 20% every year on the R&D. So I think this is the most important one. Another one is that, the people. So Henry, we have, 22,000 employees across the globe. Most of them, they are based in China, but we have, R&D center in the US, Princeton and Boston. Most recently, we just opened the office in Boston. And then we also have a small team in Basel. But we have about 5,600, people working in the R&D area. 60% of them, they have a master degree and above. So we continue to support, the postdoc degree kind of, a project, with the big, university like Yale. And we also attract the talents across all of the world from those kind of multinational companies as well. So I think it's an opportunity, but the challenge is that, if we want to do global footprint, we need to understand, the global needs, global standard of care. And we also need to set up our global network, with the most favorable, like Professor Kuriagano. So we can get, the right suggestion on what kind of study we need to do. Meanwhile, I think, working with the global company like GSK and like Merck will help us to validate our capability of innovation to the global and accelerate our clinical study footprint. So I think we just start. Just like this time, we have a small booth in ESMO for the first time. But I think, we will come again next year as well.
Thank you, Dr. Jiu Feng, for your insights. Your perspectives on global strategy and the challenges of Chinese innovation set the stage for our next discussion. Our gathering here today is made possible by influential global academic platforms like ESMO. We are fortunate to have with us ESMO President-elect, Professor Giuseppe Curigliano, who is the Director of the Early Drug Development Division and holds the co-chair for Experimental Therapeutics Program at the European Institute of Oncology. Professor Giuseppe Curigliano, from your perspective, how can the new emerging innovators like Henry leveraging the global platform like ESMO to further enhance their innovation capabilities?
I would like to thank a lot the investigator and the investors from China, because in this meeting, the first country for submission of abstract was China. Number one was China, number two were United States. So this is an important signal. Usually it's almost 4 years now that I attend the CISCO, that is the Chinese Society of Clinical Oncology meeting, and the meeting is growing and growing with the huge quality of the data. As you know, to present an oral at ESMO, there is a huge competition. And the Horizon Breast 01 was an excellent abstract. This was a prospective randomized trial comparing trastuzumab deruxtecan, that is final in ADC with the payload 126, versus pyrotinib and capecitabine in the second-line setting. And finally, there was an impressive median progression-free survival of 30 months. This was huge. And an impressive response rate, close to 80%. So the quality of this drug is outstanding, with a very low incidence of ILDs. That was almost a very low respect to other ADC. We believe as a global society that we should offer a platform to any innovation that is coming in the field of cancer treatment. We know perfectly that there is an emerging driving force in Asia, specifically in China. 70% of all ADC under development are coming from China. Most of the bispecific that we are going to use in our practice are coming from China. So there is a driving innovation that we recognized, we intercepted. And what we did this year for the first year is to establish the ESMO TAT meeting, that is the meeting on early drug development of ESMO in Hong Kong. So we did the ESMO TAT meeting in Hong Kong, and there were 600 local people attending
the meeting with an excellent science. So we are a global society. Only 48% of the members are from Europe. It means 52% are from the rest of the world. Anytime high quality, high innovative science will come from China, from Engrui, from any part of the world, they will have the space in ESMO to present their data. And having an oral presentation this year at ESMO was very difficult because the quality of the abstract we received was outstanding. You saw 3 presidential sessions. So this is a recognition of the Horizon Breast 01 because it was a very high quality paper. And I hope you will publish as soon as possible that data because they are beautiful. And I hope your company is going to move with registration trial also in Europe, because if you have an ADC that is so with a high therapeutic index, should be developed also in our continent, I believe.
As Professor Giuseppe Curigliano noted, international collaborations could facilitate the pro-science of Chinese innovations, enhancing their international influence. Regarding international strategy, we'd like to ask Dr. Zhou Feng, will overseas markets become a key focus for Hengrui next strategic phase? What international development strategies does Hengrui have in place?
Good question. The answer should be very simple. Yes. The international market will be a key focus, for Hengrui. Of course, Hengrui is the company originally from China. China remains important, base for us. But as I said, go global and innovation are the 2 pillars for Henrui's strategy. So definitely yes. How to do that? I think, just like Professor Curigliano highlighted, this year we joined ESMO and we set up the booth. We had our first, advisory board meeting for breast cancer as well. And this is just a start. This time we have 46, study, reported, in the ESMO. And 9 of them, they are oral. And 4 of them, they are LBA. So including the Horizon 01 breast cancer study, which is very proud for us. How to go global? One is about, the partnership. So if you noticed that in the past 2 years, we have collaboration, partnership, BD deal signed. And among them, I can highlight it most recently, we signed about 12 assets, including our PDE3/4 inhibitors in the COPD with GSK. So this is like a big, to be honest, it's encouraging for us because that show our innovation capability is good. And also these assets have chance to join the GSK's global study platform and then have these assets, to the patients, like Professor said, to the continent as well. So this is one of the example. And we also have some out-license deal with MSD, for example, LPA, little a, small molecular assets. We also set up some newco, which is like with the investor like Bain Capital together with Hengrui. We set up like a new company in the US, focus on the obesity pipeline as well. So I think all the collaboration BD deal signed with Hengrui is allowing our assets can get a globalization through our partners as early as possible. So meanwhile, we also remain ourselves, what kind of assets and indication we want to do the global study by ourselves. So far we have 400 studies ongoing. Among them, 20 studies is global study. It's a small number. But I think, this is important that, we have a chance to continue to explore what kind of assets we want to do by ourselves. In future, eventually, we get approval in the US or Europe and serve the patients beyond China as well. So I think the goal is very clear. Of course, right now we just start. So Hengrui, we got IPO listing in Hong Kong this year. So allowing us to get more fund for this kind of global study. And meanwhile, we need talents to join us especially the talents who has the deep insights of the R&D and also the global world, who can really make Hengrui as a truly global company.
Thank you, Dr. Zhou Feng, for your forward-looking perspectives and inspiring insights on global strategy and the future direction of Chinese innovation. And thank you to all the experts for your valuable contributions. Professor Curigliano, after listening to the previous speakers, do you have any additional suggestions or expectations you'd like to share with our audience regarding the future of Chinese innovation on the global stage?
Now the science in China and the clinical trials are growing a lot. So if you open a clinical trial of AstraZeneca and you engage the Chinese investigators in 1 year, they will enroll 70% of the patients. And this is what is happening for any clinical trial. And the quality of the data is outstanding. This is really important. And that's why in any ASCO and ESMO meeting, we have in the presidential session and oral proffered 2, 3, 4 Chinese speakers. This is really important. We recognize the value of the quality of research in China. It's time, in my opinion, to start doing a global trial. As you said before, the Horizon Breast trial is an excellent trial, but the comparator is pyrotinib and capecitabine. So the ideal comparator should be T-DM1 in that setting. I am not asking you to go against TDX, but you can go against T-DM1. So potentially, my advice would be to engage a little bit more the global investigators. Since actually you are a driving force, the dimension of your company is huge. And since you cover the leadership position in Western companies, you know perfectly how to build and to grow with a local company that is no more local. It's a global company. So it's important anytime you have an innovative agent to test your agent in the context of China, but also outside China. I believe in a registration trial designed for the Chinese context, you should also consider the comparator arm in the Western world, and you need to engage with a cap of enrollment that can be 10% for Europe, 20% for the United States, because the only way to go global, I believe, is to have a global trial platform. This is really essential, and personally believe you have the experience to do this because you did this for many years in other companies. What I am surprised at really is the evolving landscape of new innovative treatment from Asia, from China specifically, and the huge investment that has been done in some region like Hong Kong. I know that in Hong Kong there is a special place where there are 350 companies that are startup investing in innovation. I was surprised about this. So there is a new El Dorado for research and innovation that seems to be Asia. And now, of course, what is really essential is to share these innovations, since we are discussing about healthcare with the global community.
Thank you to all the experts for your wonderful sharing. Through this discussion, a pathway has been enlightened for Chinese innovation. Finally, please let me invite Dr. Zhou Feng to deliver the closing remarks.
As a summary, I think, Professor Curigliano, as you highlighted, yes, in the future, not only through those kind of BD partnership deal, Hengrui, definitely we want to kick off our own phase 3 study, global study, and make sure that, we address the unmet needs of the globe. Hengrui, we believe, as the president of Hengrui, we definitely want to continue our global footprint on the innovation and make sure that, all the development in China could be able to either bridge with the global standard or work together on the new study we want to design. And the world is very complicated because it's not only US and Europe. I used to work for another company as head of Asia based in Singapore, and I saw lots of the emerging market, like Indian or Philippines. They also have Indonesia. They also have lots of unmet needs as well. The standard of care is, of course, totally different comparing with Europe and even comparing with China. So I think the world is huge with lots of unmet needs. And a company like Hengrui from the emerging market like China, and we understand the burden, and we want to catch up the science and using our China wisdom, not only for China, but also for the patients outside of China as well. So I look forward to work closely with you in future and working with ESMO. I know ESMO has a big presence in Asia, ESMO Asia, and also ESMO TED in Hong Kong. I think these are also very good platform for China investigators to improve the quality and also maybe train lots of the other investigators in Asia as well. So definitely we'll look forward to working closely with you and ESMO.